Has your diet stopped working for you? Are you following it just as consistently or maybe more consistently as when you started, but the weight isn't budging? Or it's coming off so slowly it's barely noticeable? It may not be the diet itself. It may be a relationship issue. You're in a relationship that is no longer serving you. The truth is, you never should have formed the relationship to begin with. Everything started out great, but over time, the early benefits of the relationship faded, and you were left with the negative consequences of an unhealthy relationship. At this point, some time apart is required to get you back to a healthy place. And if we're being honest, what you really need is a divorce. I'm not talking about with your spouse. I'm referring to the unhealthy relationship you have with your diet. That's right. You need a diet divorce. Again, things may have started off great. Maybe you lost some weight, your clothes were fitting better, you had more energy, and started taking better care of yourself in other areas too. You probably started making new friends that were also on this same diet. But then the weight loss slowed and maybe even stopped. Your energy wasn't quite what it had been. It started taking a little more effort to stay active. Of course, your first thought was, what am I doing wrong? I haven't really changed anything. But you were determined to make it work. So you decided to diet harder. That may have worked briefly, but it wasn't long before you were feeling stuck again and blaming yourself. You had started off open-minded, optimistic, ready to make a change with a specific goal of improving your health. But then your focus shifted to the diet itself. You were just dating, but then the relationship got more serious. Actually, it became codependent. And your new community of friends, well, they may have reinforced it. A community that supports you and your efforts to lose weight or improve your health is awesome. But if a community doesn't allow room for the discussion of more than one strategy, or it refers to whole foods that humans have historically eaten without an issue as poison, or refers to the people who eat them as addicted, or if it disparages people who start using a different or modified version of the diet for whatever reason, as if the community is somehow being betrayed, especially if that person is somewhat, well known. Well, it's possible that your diet community is actually a diet cult. And it's possible that your diet may have even become part of your personal identity. Essentially, you fell in love with and married your diet, ignoring all of the warning signs, the diminished benefits, the negative consequences that should have been obvious. The reduced thyroid and energy levels that led to the weight loss plateau, the disrupted sleep patterns, reduced body temperature, maybe even some thinning hair, increased stress hormones like cortisol, possibly lower testosterone levels. You may have even noticed you weren't recovering from workouts as well as you used to. And no matter how much harder you diet, it doesn't seem to help. But you're probably still blaming yourself, wondering where you went wrong. You went wrong when you formed an emotional attachment to your diet. A diet is a strategy. It's a tool. Its purpose is to help you progress from point A to point B. Now, I'm very familiar with this problem because I ran into it myself. I've been experimenting with diets since the mid-90s. My first experiment was with a vegetarian and at times vegan diet for about 3.5 years. Now, that didn't end well, but I did learn a lot. Then as recently as just a few years ago in my early 50s, I hit a wall with over-leveraging metabolic stress with a combination of low-carb, daily intermittent fasting, and fasted workouts, which I had been doing for several years and recommending everyone else to do. I had a struggling thyroid, elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep, and the classic symptoms of overtraining and underfueling. As my wife will tell you, I was a little on the grumpy side too. Not only did I need to completely change everything I was doing, I had to roll back everything I was saying to clients and on social media, and in a book. Yeah, that was fun. So I'm not judging you, I'm quite sympathetic. Diets usually have an element to them that gives you an extra leverage due to creating a new level of metabolic stress, like a greatly reduced macronutrient or specific type of food. We all know them. Low calorie, low carb, keto, carnivore, low fat, vegan or vegetarian, intermittent fasting. To be clear, I don't consider replacing ultra-processed foods with single ingredient whole foods a restrictive or reductionist diet that is over-leveraging metabolic stress. Replacing industrial toxins with real food will reduce the oxidative stress that is damaging our metabolism. History shows we didn't have any significant level of metabolic disease like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease before we created the ultra-processed foods of the 20th century. But with regard to the diet, just because restricting a particular macronutrient for a period of time can help you lose weight, that doesn't mean that that food group is bad or unhealthy or you'll never eat it again. The purpose of the diet is to create enough metabolic stress to increase fat loss. Following one of these diets will stimulate weight loss as the body responds to the new level of metabolic stress. However, as the body adapts to restore homeostasis, the impact of the metabolic stress is reduced until it eventually stops. Why? Because the metabolic stress caused by the diet tells your body that food is scarce and your body doesn't want to starve to death. It will start breaking down tissue like fat and muscle to replace the fuel you've stopped eating and to keep fueling the fire, but eventually it will just turn down the fire. That equates to reduced thyroid production, which means reduced energy production, reduced body heat. You feel less like moving and more like sitting or sleeping. Overall, fewer calories are metabolized. When the stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are elevated to stimulate energy production, that leads to reduced quality of sleep and reduced testosterone levels, which impacts your recovery from workouts and just life in general. Right? These are textbook adaptations seen in studies looking at athletes on low-calorie and low-carb diets. The conditions are called low energy availability and reduced energy availability in sport. So what are we supposed to do to lose weight? Well, for starters, stop falling in love with your diet. For some of you, it's time to get that diet divorce. At best, it's a friends with benefits kind of relationship. It's just a tool, a strategy that you put to work for you for a limited period of time to extract the benefits while your body is strongly responsive to it. Then you cycle out of it. You reset by bringing more of the restricted nutrient back in and then cycle back to the diet as needed and while it's still effective. How long that is will depend on the particular strategy, your state of health, how restrictive you are when leveraging the diet, existing stress, and maybe a few other variables. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. We're all on a health journey, but journeys don't go far if you're stuck in a rut. Stay curious, keep learning, pay attention to what your body's telling you, and remember, you don't need a diet religion, a diet cult, or a diet love affair. You just need a diet strategy.